Hi everybody, Laura here from My Favorite Things. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've got a lovable, 100% lovable project. It's kind of a Valentine's-y-ish themed card. So I'm starting with the 100% lovable stamp set. That's what this is called. I'm using this sentiment, "You are loved." Gonna stamp it right in the center of that panel. I'm not stamping it yet. I'm just laying it there to get the lay of the land. So I'm going to do some ink blending around the sentiment to frame it, if you will. I got an idea in my head. We'll see how it works out. All my cards are a bit of an evolution. You never know what you're going to get. So I'm starting. I got a panel of white cardstock. I'm using Nina Solar White, and I've got my little mini Distress Ink cubes in the color Candied Apple. I'm just going to work my way around. This time I'm going to do this corner using Carved Pumpkin. Now, I will say I get a scrap piece of paper there to put my hand. I'm one of those people that's got, you ever heard that song, "Slow Hands"? Well, I've got hot hands. And when I'm distress inking, I get hot. And sometimes my hands leave like fingerprints because the heat of my hand starts to react with the distress inks. It's a hot hand problem. And it probably is not a surprise. I'm also a hothead. So not only do I have hot hands, but I am a hothead. Now once I get my ink blending down, I'm going to flick on some flicks of water using my little distress sprayer, just water, and then I'll dab it up with a paper towel, and just to kick up the flickage another notch, I'm going to flick on some flicks of distress ink. So I smushed a little bit of picked raspberry on an acrylic block, and then with a wet brush, I flick it on the picked raspberry ink blended area. So I want to flick on light colors, if you will. So this time now I am smushing on some candied apple, and then with a clean wet brush I flick on. So you can see how I kind of flick it off the edge. I flick it off the edge of the acrylic block. There's lots of different ways you can do your flicks, and you get different results. You can tap it on your finger, flick it off the edge, and then so look at how this looks. It's so pretty. I just like how the dreaminess of it. Now here's where I experiment. I'm taking this gorgeous full of heart die, and I want to die cut it into these ink blended edges. But it gets a little bit tricky because I'm working on angles. And you can see here that my big shot is not wide enough for that panel to fit through on this angle. And I don't want to warp it or rip it or bend it. So I wasn't sure if this was going to work. In the end, as you already know, it did work, although it was a little complicated. You see here me shifting and shimmying and turning the angles to try to fit it through the, I think I need a wider big shot. I don't know, because sometimes I do want to cut things on odd angles, and my dies and my cardstock don't always want to fit. And so this is one of those examples where I was experimenting. It's going to be a hit or miss when you try out new techniques. Sometimes it's a complete flop and a fail, and then other times it's a happy success. You just never know what you're going to get with card making, but you just got to persevere. Just persevere until you get something, So now I'm stamping the "You Are Loved" sentiment from the 100% Lovable stamp set. Stamping that with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Now I'm going to adhere this panel onto a white panel, but it was a little bit stark for my taste. So I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending behind. I'm not using the exact same color, so behind the candied apple corner, I ink blended a little spice marmalade. Behind the carved pumpkin corner, I'm ink blending some mustard seed. And then behind the picked raspberry, I'm ink blending a little wilted violet. So this just gives a little bit of added interest, having that second color underneath it. And how I chose the color was underneath the candied apple corner, I did orange. Underneath the orange corner, I did yellow. Underneath the pink corner, I did purple. So it's the next color in the rainbow order. You see how that goes? So it's like I'm kind of sneaking in a rainbow, sneaking it under the cover, if you know what I'm saying. So here I'm going to flick on some more, because if you're going to flick, you got to go hard or go home. You know what I mean? If you don't know what you're doing, do it with confidence. And so we're going to keep that consistent flicking theme. I really like how this adds a bit of texture and detail, but yet it's not too distracting because I'm flicking with the same exact color. You see what I'm doing there? But I do need to ask you a question, if anyone has any suggestions. What is a good white ink or paint to flick with that's nice and opaque and gives you a good result? I just don't know. I don't know. So any suggestions would be appreciated. Now I'm going to start adhering this card together. I'm using my tape runner on this first ink blended layer. Going to adhere this. I cut it a little bit smaller to give a nice white border, adhering that on a white card base. And then this final layer I'm going to pop up with foam tape. I've got lots of little slivers there. And this card's just about finished. Just to finish it off, I'm going to adhere a few sparkling clear sequins with some glossy accents. Here and there, some of them I'm going to tuck in behind. If I can tuck a sequin, I love to tuck a sequin. It's great. Looks fabulous. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you know that you're loved. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.